So I'm going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to talk about the lure battle. I've had a lot of questions sent in to me about this competition. I've spoke to a lot of anglers about it, and I thought I'd try to address some of their questions in this video. But before we get into all of that, I just want to say a massive well done to Michael for winning it. Unbelievably consistent over the 2 days. Averaged a much better average size fish than the rest of us could do. So yeah, just a brilliant job to him. He deserves all the credit in the world. So I'm going to get into the questions now, and we're going to start off with the time of year. So one of the questions that I have been asked a lot was about the time of year. Now, in regards to catching big perch on a regular basis, autumn, winter is obviously going to be an easier time to do it. The fish start to shoal up, and you have got the potential to catch these bigger fish a little bit easier. Now, what I will say though about summer, as difficult as it can be, and you've seen over this competition how difficult it has been for putting big fish on the bank, it is still one of my favourite times of year to do it. You know, you've got the option of catching fish on the surface. You can catch fish dead stick in a net. You can catch fish power fishing crankbaits. There is so much that works in the summer. I do think that doing this kind of competition in the warmer months, it does show you a lot more variety. If we was to do a competition like this or if we was to take part in a competition like this throughout the winter, there's going to be a lot of sort of like dead sticking, dragging a Texas rig along the bottom. No, not very entertaining forms of fishing to actually watch on camera. So I do feel, as difficult as it can be, summertime is still a good time of year to do a perch competition. Like I say, just because it does give you the variety of techniques and things like that. It's just my personal opinion. Again, autumn and winter, it may be easier to catch bigger fish more regularly, but I do love my summer perch fishing. The hardest thing to do doing these things on camera is to catch a big fish on demand. You know, every angler in this competition would have loved to have gone out and put 5 40+ centimetre fish on the mat each day and caught some absolute units. Every angler in this competition has had days like that in the summer, but for it to all come good on the 2 days filming that we do have to film this series, there is a lot of luck that is involved in that. You know, it could be something as simple as floating weed mats moving over an area where a day before you was catching some big fish and it's now just unfishable. Or there's all these little tiny variables that can happen that are completely out of your control. So as much as I appreciate that the viewers would have loved to have seen some real whacking great fish being caught on a regular basis, it isn't easy to do that, especially in the summer. So I hope that people can take that into account and just, you know, realise how hard it can be. So the other question that was put to me quite a lot was the lack of a size limit. You know, should there have been a size limit? And personally speaking, I get why people would want it, but you look at, you've got the other lure battle that's coming up, the 1v1. That is a big fish competition. This one, it is a bit more, especially being in the summer, it is a little bit more geared around showing you sort of like UK summer perch fishing in its entirety. And as much as it might not be always that entertaining, let's say watching myself catch loads of little tiny fish, or you know, other anglers doing the same thing, it's a huge part of UK lure fishing. How many days have you gone out in the summer, you've really struggled to catch anything, and then you drop on them that little pod of small fish, and then you end up catching 10, 20, 30 little fish, and it sort of saves the day a little bit. So to put a size limit on it and then to sort of rule that out, you're not really giving a true perception of perch fishing in the UK, in my opinion, in the summer. Now, I know that everybody wants to see us all go out there and catch loads and loads of big fish. I wanted to do it, and I know everybody else did. But I think what probably happened as well is that there's a lot of big fish anglers in this competition. And if everybody's thinking that everybody else is going to be chasing the big ones, I think there was a door open there for somebody to go and catch the numbers point, and I think that's possibly what happened as well. I know that was my thought process. Everything geared around me catching that second 40 quickly from that first venue, and then we only needed to catch 3 other big fish throughout the first day. and like not getting that second big fish, it did open the prospects of me then going to catch a lot of small fish, which has ended up what we was doing. And again, I know that's probably not the most entertaining thing for the angler to watch, but it's a huge part of fishing in the summer. You know, it's numbers of small fish. We do catch some real big fish in the summer, but one of the hardest things to do is to catch a big fish on command. You know, I wish it was as easy as you go down to venue A in spot B at this time of day and bang, you catch a 45 centimetre fish. It just doesn't work like that. And I think you saw that with everybody's fishing pretty much. You know, you've got multiple different approaches being shown in this competition, which I think is really good. You've got Will sort of fishing around structure, boats, pontoons, things like that, drop shotting. That's a huge part of perch fishing. You've got, let's say, me sort of power fishing, little tiny finesse baits. That's great fun in the summer. And you've got anglers like Charlie, obviously Will, we've spoke, Charlie and Michael fishing some really stunning venues as well. I can imagine, see how vast some of their waters are that they fish, how hard that would be to track the fish down. And then you've got Hayden did really well. I think he showed you with the way that he approached it that I want to catch a big fish and I'm just going to keep going and going and going, and hopefully it all comes together. And it's exactly what happened for him, dropping on that 42 right at the end. So again, it's multiple different ways of fishing, and I think this competition showed all of it, from wasping to persevering on the big fish. Something else that I was asked a fair bit was, is the scoring system, is it too complex? In my opinion, it's not. It's very similar to a lot of the other scoring systems through some of the YouTube competitions throughout Europe. When you actually think about it, it is very simple to follow. I know sometimes when you look at the scoreboard, it can be a little bit confusing, but when you actually think about it, it's a point for the biggest fish on each day, point for the biggest top water fish, point for the combined top 5 fish, and then a point for numbers of fish, and that's on both days. So it is quite simple to follow, even though sometimes you can get a little bit confused when you're looking at the scoring board. And then there's the bonus points for each of that category, again, to be handed out after the second day as well. So in my opinion, I don't think there's anything wrong with the scoring system. It's very thorough, and it gives every type of angler the chance to put points on the board, whether you want to go and catch numbers of fish or you want to catch that just one big fish. The most valuable fish would have been a big top water fish. From a personal point of view, it was a bit annoying when that one dropped off at the end of the first day, because that was a decent fish. That was definitely over the 40 centimetre mark. But that would have been, from a tactic point of view, if you wanted to really go all in and win this competition again, if you in the future enter the wild card and you want to sort of think, well, what can I do to potentially win this? A big top water fish is definitely the fish to chase, in my opinion. Sounds a little bit hypocritical, because I didn't go out and do that. I didn't put any real time into it apart from that hour on the first day. But yeah, let's say you can catch a fish of 45 centimetres off the top. Potentially you're going to get a point for being the biggest top water fish, potentially the biggest fish overall, and then you can get the bonus points again at the end. So that one fish potentially could get you 4 points. So that would be like my advice if you are going to fish one of these competitions in the future, whether you are one of the anglers that will get asked to do it, or through the wild card door. But yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with the scoring system personally. It's not complicated when you really break it down, and like I say, it does give everybody the opportunity to score points. So to finish up on a little bit more of a personal view on these competitions, whether it's the Perch League, the 1v1 lure battle that's coming up, I think these are more important than just another YouTube competition. They have got the ability to draw new anglers into the sport. Whether you're already an angler and you're looking to diversify in going down a different genre of angling, or whether you're a kid wanting to get into fishing, or you're a parent wanting your kids to get into something a little bit more positive. Lure fishing is probably the most obtainable area of angling, in my opinion. You don't need to spend a huge amount of money to get into it. You don't need to be a part of some really expensive syndicate to have a chance of catching a big fish. You know, you can go down to your local canal and potentially pull out a 4-pounder. You know, it's very, very obtainable to every angler So I can't recommend it enough. I'm absolutely addicted to it, and I'll do everything in my power to keep promoting lure fishing, because I just think it's a fantastic thing to be a part of. But if you haven't watched the lure battle yet, and this is the first time you've either heard of it, I can't recommend it enough. I know there's a lot of small fish that gets caught in these competitions, but again, you know, without risk of repeating myself, it does show you what lure fishing is as a whole. So I definitely recommend watching it, and definitely recommend taking up lure fishing.